Hello, it's been a while since I uploaded the last video, so I decided to create another video for the fun of it. So yeah, I'm gonna cover the SCP Foundation so far, what I know of it. To give some context, I am a fan of the SCP lore and universe, and I have watched and read a lot of SCPs a couple years ago, but I have probably forgotten half of them, and I want to cover them in this short little video alongside the context and backstory of some of the SCP lore to give a little bit of explanation of things around here. So let's start, shall we? So, what is SCP? To go from the explanation of the wiki site, God, I hate wiki so much. Anyway, the SCP Foundation is a fictional organization documented by the web-based collaborative fiction. Yep, end of the video. Just kidding. Obviously there's a lot more than this, but the SCP, or Special Containment Procedures from my definition of it inside the game universe, is a secret organization that is supported by the world nations. It is unknown when it was first created, but the organization's job is to attempt to contain anomalous beings that range from individuals, locations, entities, objects that exist inside our world but are operating outside of the reality of the quote-unquote natural law of humanity, aka that possess supernatural powers from quote-unquote normalish powers such as a teddy bear, and others so much as world-ending destructive ones such as SCP-001 or When Day Breaks. But the community of the SCP Foundation is a big and active one with over 1,000 hundreds of fans creating new SCPs to this very day. That if I tried to cover them all in this video, it will be over 24 hours long. But I would cover a handful of some of them that I find interesting and iconic and familiar to me. But before we do that, let's go over the procedures and how they documented the SCPs. The thing is, every SCP has a class, which is essentially the meter of how easy to contain them is. It is these, including the following: safe, pretty self-explanatory, but keep in mind some SCPs are somewhat dangerous that should be aware about. And the other one is Euclid, which is still somewhat easy to contain. It requires more caution and can erupt into death if handled badly or carelessly. And for the last one, Keter, is basically the hardest types of SCPs to contain and are super dangerous and require huge sophistication to contain. And a lot of them are world endings. Note here, by the way, some SCPs have other levels like neutralize that are no longer anomalies and become normal objects, but for others like Thamul and Apollyon, well, they aren't as varied as the others, so they're not that important, but yeah. Most if not a lot of SCP's documents including cut words such as redacted or data expunged. And other words may get blacked out and some entirely. This is purely for atmospheric reasons and obviously for classified information that is not meant to be publicized. And it really helps the authenticity of the lore more than what it already does. And the SCPs have a description of special containment procedures for each SCP. Like I said, some are easier and smaller to contain and others not so much. Alongside this, some scientists and security members are not allowed to enter high-level SCPs like Keter or some degree Euclid, and are given security cards to different for each level of the facility. This is useful for the game SCP Containment Breach, which, speaking of, I will be using footage to demonstrate some of the SCPs, so that's just good for the next segment. SCP-035 has gotta be my favorite SCP of the list, and arguably in the universe it is preferred as the possessive mass. And the description of it is: SCP-035 appears to be a white proclaimed comedy mask, although at times it will change to tragedy. In these events, all existing visual records such as the photographs, video footage, even illustrations of SCP-035 automatically change to reflect its new appearance, as well as that it can talk and act like helpless victim.
Hello? Please, can anyone hear me? Anyone? I need help and medical attention too. Please. I'm currently in the heavy containment zone, beyond checkpoint E. I'm locked in SCP-035's containment chamber.
asking for help, such as in this moment. Subjects close to SCP-035 or in the visual contact with it experience a strong urge to put it on. When the SCP-035 is placed on the face of the individual, an alternate brainwave pattern from the SCP-035 overlaps that of the original host, effectively snuffing it out and causing brain damage to death to the subject. Subject then claims to be conscious, contained within SCP-035. The bodies of the possessed subjects decay at a high accelerated rate, eventually becoming little more than mummified corpses. SCP-035 has proven to be highly sadistic, promoting some to commit suicide and transforming others into near mindless servants with a linguistic personification alone. SCP-035 has stated that it has limited knowledge of the working of the human mind and implied that it could change anyone's views if given enough time. Special Containment Procedure. SCP-035 is to be contained on an area no less than 5 meter by 5 meter, 16 foot by 16 foot, and given an adequate room to move toys, books, games, and other recreational devices, and are to be employed, provided, and rotated every 3 months. Proper bedding, bathroom, medical facilities are to be maintained at all times. Food should be provided 3 times daily and 2 snacks if requested. Now into the next SCP. SCP-049 is one of the most definitely iconic both in the SCP universe and outside of it. Strangely, this is a cooperative SCP unlike many of before it. They are usually objects or straight up hostile or unsociable creatures, but here's the kicker. Sometimes this SCP outbursts and destroys stuff, and can kill a human being if he touched one's skin. But let's go for the description. SCP-049 is a humanoid entity, roughly 1.9 meters in height, which bears the appearance of a medieval plague doctor. While SCP-049 appears to be wearing the thick robes and the ceramic mask indicative of the profession, the garments instead of seem to have grown out of the SCP-049's body over time, and are now nearly indistinguishable from whatever is beneath them. However, X-ray indicate that despite this, SCP-049 does have a humanoid skeletal structure beneath its outer layer. SCP-049 is capable of speech in a variety of languages such as medieval French and English, but it prefers to speak English. While SCP-049 is generally cordial and cooperative with the Foundation staff, it can become or at times outright aggressive if it feels that it is in the presence of what it calls pestilence. Although the exact nature of this pestilence is currently unknown to the Foundation researchers, it does seem to be an issue of the immense concern to SCP-049. Note, SCP-049 will become hostile with individuals as it is affected by the pestilence. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-049 is contained within a standard secure humanoid containment cell in Research Sector 02 at Site 19. SCP-049 must be sedated before any attempts to transport it. During transport, SCP-049 must be secured within a Class 3 humanoid restriction harness, including a locking installer and extension and restraints, and monitored by no fewer than 2 armed guards. Now into the next SCP. SCP-173. This one gotta be one of the most iconic of the game and was the original SCP that kickstarted this universe and lore that was founded in 2008, as well as the intro start of SCP Containment Breach. But anyway, to the description as usual so far. Description: moved to Site 19, 1993. Origin is as yet unknown. It is constructed from concrete and rubber, from the traces of Krylon brand spray paint. SCP-173 is animate and extremely hostile. The object cannot move while within a direct line of sight. Line of sight must not be broken at any time with SCP-173. A personnel is assigned to enter the container as instructed to alert one of the another before blinking. Object is reported to attack by snap the neck at the base of the skull or by strangulation. In the event of an attack, personnel are to observe Class 4 hazardous object containment procedures. Special containment procedures. Items SCP-173 is to be kept in a locker container at all times. When personnel must enter SCP-173 container, no fewer than 3 may enter at any time, and the door must be re-locked behind them. At all times, 2 persons must maintain direct contact with SCP-173 until all personnel have vacated and re-locked the container. SCP-106. This one is arguably the scariest SCP in this, in my opinion. And say what you will about the other SCPs, but when I first saw this SCP, I legit was creeped out from it. And this is coming from a guy that barely gets scared from horror movies or games. It looks fairly interesting. And he is a World War I soldier and an old man that chases you around in-game, an SCP containment breach. But anyway, and can also teleport you to the dimension that you can either get killed, but if you're lucky you can actually escape, but most people don't, so I suggest you don't actually go there. SCP-106 appears to be an elderly humanoid with a general appearance of an advanced decomposition. This appearance may vary, be the rotting quality is to be observed in all forms. SCP-106 is not exceptionally agile and will remain motionless for days at a time, waiting for prey. SCP-106 is also capable of scaling any vertical surface and can remain suspended upside down indefinitely. When attacking, SCP-106 will attempt to uncastable prey by damaging major organs, muscle groups, and tendons, then pull disabled prey into its pocket dimension. SCP-106 appears to prefer human prey items in the 10-25 years of age bracket. SCP-106 is to be contained on a sealed container comprised of lined steel. The container will be sealed within 40 layers of identical material. Each layer was separated no less than 36 centimeters of an empty space. Support struts between layers are to be randomly spaced. Containers to remain suspended no less than 60 centimeters from any surface by yellow-eyed electromagnetic supports. Next. Last but not least, SCP-3008. This is my second favorite SCP in my opinion. I really like IKEA furniture as much as I hate consumer culture. I really like the place. It's one of my favorite furniture. But about the SCP, this is one of the classic, I guess, supernatural, I guess you could say so, that many people find in horror games, locations that is pretty much scary, I guess. But it is a really good SCP, and as much as funny it is. Description. SCP-3008 is a large retail unit previously owned by and branded as IKEA, a popular furniture retail chain. A person entering SCP-3008 through the main entrance and then passing out of the side of the doors will find themselves translocated to SCP-008-1. Is a space resembling the inside of an IKEA furniture store, expanding far beyond the limits of what direction inclusive results from the use of the layers of the range finders has led to the speculation that the space may be infinite. SCP-3008-1 is inhabited by an unknown number of civilians trapped within prior to containment. Gathered data suggests they have formed a rudimentary civilizations within SCP-3008-1. SCP-3008-2 are humanoid entities that exist within SCP-3008-1. While superficially resembling humans, they possess exaggerated and inconsistent bodily proportions, often described as being too short or too tall, or both. They possess no facial features in all observed cases, wear a yellow shirt and blue trousers consistent with the IKEA employee uniform. Special containment I messed up that line. But anyway, special containment procedures. The retail part containing SCP-3008 has been purchased by the Foundation and converted into a site and then blocked off. All public roads leading to our passing site blocked off again have been redirected. The entrance to SCP-3008 is to be monitored at all times, and no one is allowed to enter SCP-3008 outside of testing, as permitted by the senior researcher. Humans exiting SCP-3008 are to be detained and then disbriefed prior to the administrations of amnestics, dependent upon the duration of their stay in SCP-3008. A cover story you may need to generate prior to their release. Thank you, everyone. I know this has been a short video. I know I could have covered a lot more than what I did, but you know, I don't feel like it. But yeah, thank you so much for watching the video. Hope you liked it. Press the like, and you know, subscribe if you really want more content. And I will try to upload more often than this. So thank you.